There comes a moment when you realize that the greatest battle you will ever face is not against the world. It is against the part of yourself that constantly wants to stop, delay, escape, and choose what is comfortable. You can blame your circumstances. You can blame other people. You can wait for motivation. You can wait for the perfect moment. But none of these things will change the direction of your life. Change begins when you take responsibility for yourself. Freestyle yourself. Not because you must become perfect, but because you must become capable of directing your own life. There will be days when you feel strong, and there will be days when you feel nothing. There will be moments when your mind tells you to quit, your body asks for comfort, and your emotions demand an immediate reaction. This is where discipline begins. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is the ability to remain connected to what truly matters, even when something inside you wants to walk away. Every time you keep a promise you made to yourself, you become stronger. Every time you remain silent instead of reacting, you become stronger. Every time you choose consistency over comfort, you become stronger. And slowly, something changes. You stop needing the world to motivate you. You stop depending on perfect circumstances. You stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to become who you are capable of becoming. You begin to lead yourself. That is the foundation of self-mastery. Your life is shaped by what you repeatedly do, not by what you occasionally intend to do. A powerful life is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built quietly, through ordinary decisions repeated every day. Wake up when you said you would. Do the work when nobody is watching. Control your words when anger rises. Return to your focus when distraction appears. Continue when progress feels invisible. These moments may seem small, but they are training you. You are teaching your mind that your decisions are stronger than your impulses. You are teaching yourself that discomfort does not mean danger. You are teaching yourself that you can be trusted. And when you can trust yourself, you no longer need to constantly search outside yourself for strength. So today, do not ask, how can I change everything? Ask a deeper question. Can I master myself today? Can you control one reaction? Can you complete one difficult task? Can you remove one distraction? Can you keep one promise? Can you choose discipline once more? Because the person you become tomorrow is being shaped by the choices you make today. Stir yourself, and you begin to change everything, not through force, not through noise, but through quiet consistency, clear intention, and the courage to choose who you want to become over who you have been. Most people believe they need motivation before they can begin. They wait until they feel inspired, energized, confident, or ready. They tell themselves that tomorrow they will wake up earlier, train harder, study longer, work with greater focus, or finally change their habits. But motivation is unstable. It rises and falls according to your mood, your environment, your sleep, your emotions, and the events happening around you. If your actions depend completely on how you feel, your progress will always be uncertain. Discipline begins at the exact moment motivation disappears. There will be mornings when you do not want to get up. There will be evenings when you feel too tired to continue. There will be moments when your goal seems distant and your old habits feel much easier. This is not a sign that you have failed. This is the moment when your training truly begins. When you act only when you feel motivated, you are allowing your emotions to decide the direction of your life. But when you act despite the absence of motivation, you begin taking that authority back. Discipline means understanding that feelings are information, not commands. You can feel tired and still take the next step. You can feel afraid and still move forward. You can feel distracted and still return your attention to the task. You can feel uncomfortable and still remain committed to what matters. This does not mean ignoring your body or pretending that rest is weakness. It means learning the difference between genuine exhaustion and the temporary resistance that appears whenever you ask yourself to grow. The mind often chooses what is familiar because familiar feels safe. It wants comfort. It wants immediate pleasure. It wants to avoid difficulty. But growth rarely happens inside complete comfort. Every time you resist the impulse to choose the easiest option, you strengthen your ability to choose consciously. Imagine waking up early to work towards something important. Your mind says, stay in bed for a few more minutes. You have two choices. You can obey the feeling, or you can remember the person you are trying to become. The decision may appear insignificant, but it is not. In that small moment, you are practicing self-command. The same principle applies everywhere. You decide to exercise, but you do not feel like training. You decide to read, but your phone is calling for your attention. You decide to remain calm, but someone says something that triggers your anger. You decide to finish your work, but distraction offers an easier escape. Each moment gives you another opportunity to practice discipline. The goal is not to become a person who never feels resistance. The goal is to become a person who does not automatically obey every feeling. Motivation can start a journey, but discipline keeps you walking when the excitement disappears. Motivation tells you what could be possible. Discipline asks whether you are willing to do what is necessary. This is why consistency is more powerful than intensity. You do not need to transform your entire life in one day. You need to make the right choice repeatedly. One disciplined decision becomes a habit. One habit becomes a pattern. One pattern becomes part of your identity. Eventually, you begin to see yourself differently. You become someone who keeps promises to yourself. Someone who does not need constant encouragement. Someone who can continue without applause, without attention, and without immediate results. That is where real strength begins. Not when everything feels easy, not when motivation is high, but when you know exactly what needs to be done. You do not feel like doing it, and you choose to do it anyway. Your circumstances will not always be under your control. People will disappoint you. Plans will change. Opportunities will disappear. Some days will bring pressure, uncertainty, and unexpected problems. You cannot control everything that enters your life, but you can develop the ability to control what happens within you. This is where self-mastery begins. A person who cannot govern their thoughts will often become a prisoner of them. One negative thought appears, and suddenly the entire day feels negative. One criticism is heard, and confidence disappears. One mistake happens, and the mind begins creating stories about failure. One person behaves badly, and anger takes control. The event may last for a moment, but the mind can continue carrying it for hours, days, or even years. This is why mastering your mind is more important than controlling your circumstances. You do not need to control everything around you to remain peaceful. You need to become less controlled by everything around you. Your first responsibility is your attention. Where you place your attention repeatedly becomes the environment in which your mind lives. If you constantly focus on comparison, criticism, fear, and problems, your inner world becomes restless. But when you train your attention toward what you can actually influence, your mind becomes clearer. This does not mean pretending that problems do not exist. It means refusing to give every problem unlimited access to your peace. When something goes wrong, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, what is actually happening? Then ask, what part of this is within my control? Perhaps you cannot control what someone said, but you can control whether you respond with anger. You cannot control whether someone understands you, but you can control how honestly you communicate. You cannot control whether the world recognizes your effort, but you can control whether you continue improving. You cannot control every outcome, but you can control your preparation. This shift changes everything. Most emotional suffering becomes stronger when we fight reality instead of responding to it. We spend energy wishing people were different, wishing the past had happened differently, wishing circumstances were easier. But the past cannot be edited, and other people cannot be controlled. Your power exists in the present moment. The mind becomes stronger through practice. Every difficult situation can become training. Every delay can train patience. Every disagreement can train emotional control. Every failure can train resilience. Every distraction can train focus. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You can begin asking, what can this teach me? That question creates space between the event and your reaction, and inside that space is freedom. A disciplined mind does not mean a mind without emotions. You will still experience anger, sadness, fear, disappointment, and frustration. Strength does not come from eliminating these emotions. It comes from learning how to experience them without allowing them to make every decision for you. You can feel anger without becoming anger. You can feel fear without allowing fear to choose your future. You can feel disappointment without abandoning your path. You can feel uncertainty while continuing to move forward. This is emotional discipline. The more you practice it, the less power temporary emotions have over permanent decisions. Your circumstances may change tomorrow. Your plans may change next week. People may enter and leave your life. Success may come slowly. Failure may appear unexpectedly. But if you develop a stable inner foundation, you become capable of meeting changing circumstances without constantly losing yourself. This is why the real battle is often not outside you. It is the battle for your attention, your reactions, your thoughts, and your choices. When you master these, you stop demanding that the world become peaceful before you can become peaceful. You begin creating peace from within. And once you learn to govern yourself, circumstances no longer have to become perfect for you to remain focused, calm, and committed to the person you are becoming. Your life is not transformed by one perfect decision. It is transformed by the decisions you repeat when nobody is watching. We often underestimate small actions because they do not produce immediate results. We want dramatic change, fast progress, and visible proof that our effort is working. But real transformation is usually quiet. It happens through ordinary actions repeated long enough to become part of who you are. A person who wants to become stronger does not become strong through one intense workout. A person who wants greater knowledge does not become wise by reading one book. A person who wants discipline does not develop it by being productive for one day. Strength, knowledge, and discipline are built through repetition. This is the power of small daily actions. One disciplined choice may seem insignificant, but when that choice becomes a habit, it begins shaping your identity. You wake up and complete what you promised yourself. You spend less time scrolling and more time learning. You exercise even when the excitement is gone. You choose to remain silent instead of reacting emotionally. You organize your priorities instead of allowing the day to control you. None of these actions looks extraordinary, but repeated every day, they become extraordinary. The mind is trained through repetition. Every time you complete a difficult task, instead of avoiding it, you strengthen the habit of action. Every time you return your attention after distraction, you strengthen your focus. Every time you control an unnecessary reaction, you strengthen your emotional discipline. You are always practicing something. If you repeatedly choose distraction, you become better at being distracted. If you repeatedly choose comfort, you become more dependent on comfort. If you repeatedly choose discipline, you become more comfortable with discipline. This means your daily choices are silently training the person you will become. You do not need to change everything at once. In fact, trying to change everything at once can create unnecessary pressure. Choose one area, improve it consistently, then allow that improvement to become stable before adding another challenge. Perhaps you begin by waking up at a consistent time. Then you create a focused period without your phone. Then you begin exercising regularly. Then you improve your sleep. Then you become more intentional with your words. Small changes begin connecting with one another. Soon, your entire way of living starts to shift. The important question is not, how much can I accomplish today? A better question is, what can I repeat tomorrow? Because temporary intensity creates temporary results. Consistency creates lasting change. There will be days when you perform exceptionally well. There will also be days when your energy is low and your progress feels almost invisible. Do not allow one difficult day to convince you that your efforts are meaningless. Some of the most important progress happens when you continue, despite not seeing immediate results. A seed does not become a tree overnight. The work happens beneath the surface before the growth becomes visible. Your discipline can work in the same way. You may not immediately see greater confidence, stronger focus, or deeper resilience, but every disciplined action is building something within you. This is why you should stop measuring your growth only by visible outcomes. Measure your ability to remain consistent. Measure how quickly you return after failure. Measure how often you keep your promises. Measure how much better you respond to situations that once controlled you. That is real progress. The goal is not to become perfect. The goal is to become slightly more disciplined than yesterday. One better decision today. One better habit tomorrow. One more moment of awareness the next day. Eventually, these small actions become a life. And when you look back, you may realize that the greatest transformation did not come from one extraordinary moment, but from thousands of ordinary moments in which you quietly chose not to give up on yourself. There is a voice inside you that will always search for an easier path. It will tell you to wait until tomorrow. It will tell you that you are too tired, that the work can be done later, that one more hour of distraction will not matter, that you deserve comfort before you have earned it. Sometimes this voice sounds reasonable because it speaks through your emotions. But if you listen to it every time, you slowly teach yourself that your impulses are stronger than your decisions. Self-mastery begins when you stop negotiating with every moment of weakness. This does not mean becoming harsh with yourself. It means becoming honest with yourself. There is a difference between genuine rest and unnecessary avoidance. There is a difference between listening to your body and using discomfort as an excuse. There is a difference between protecting your peace and running away from something simply because it is difficult. The mind naturally prefers immediate comfort. It wants the reward now and the effort later. But many of the things that create a meaningful life require the opposite approach. You must often accept temporary discomfort for a deeper reward. You study now so your future becomes easier. You exercise now so your body becomes stronger. You practice patience now so your relationships become healthier. You focus now so your abilities become sharper. You say no now so your priorities remain protected. Every meaningful result requires you to delay something. The problem is that weakness often does not appear as a dramatic temptation. It appears as a small negotiation. Just 5 more minutes. I will start tomorrow. I am not in the mood today. One exception will not hurt. I will check my phone for a moment. These small negotiations seem harmless, but repeated often, they become patterns. Eventually, you stop deciding consciously. You simply follow the easiest impulse. That is why discipline requires clarity. Know what matters before the moment of temptation arrives. When you already know your priority, you do not need to debate with yourself every time discomfort appears. If you have decided that your morning belongs to your most important work, protect it. If you have decided that your health matters, act accordingly. If you have decided that you will stop reacting emotionally, pause when anger appears. The decision should not be recreated every day. Your weakness will always have an argument. Your discipline needs a principle. This is where commitment becomes powerful. Commitment means that you stop asking whether you feel like doing something and start asking whether it is aligned with the person you want to become. You may not feel like training, but you train because strength matters. You may not feel like working, but you work because your purpose matters. You may want to react, but you remain silent because your peace matters more. You may want to quit, but you continue because the promise you made to yourself matters. This is not about forcing yourself endlessly. Sometimes the disciplined decision really is to rest, change direction, or step away. Self-mastery includes knowing when to stop. But the difference is that you make the decision consciously, rather than allowing temporary emotion to make it for you. Every time you refuse an unnecessary excuse, you strengthen self-trust. And self-trust is one of the most valuable forms of inner strength. When you repeatedly break promises to yourself, your confidence slowly decreases. You begin doubting whether you can depend on yourself. But when you keep even small promises, something changes. You begin believing your own decisions. You become someone who can say, I will do this, and then actually do it. That identity is powerful. You no longer need to fight yourself every morning. You have trained yourself to move before endless negotiation begins. The goal is not to eliminate weakness completely. Weakness will visit you throughout life. The goal is to stop giving it authority. You can hear the voice asking for comfort without obeying it. You can feel resistance without surrendering to it. You can experience fear without allowing it to choose your direction. You can acknowledge tiredness without automatically choosing escape. Every time you choose what matters over what feels easiest, you become a little more capable of governing yourself. And eventually, discipline stops feeling like a battle against yourself and becomes the quiet expression of the person you have decided to become. Freedom is often misunderstood. Many people believe freedom means having no rules, no responsibilities, and no limitations. They believe they are free when they can do whatever they want, whenever they want. But if every impulse controls you, are you truly free? If anger controls your words, you are not free. If distraction controls your attention, you are not free. If comfort controls your decisions, you are not free. If the opinions of others determine your confidence, you are not free. Real freedom begins when you become capable of governing yourself. Self-mastery is not about controlling every part of life. It is about developing enough inner discipline that external circumstances no longer control your entire state of mind. You cannot decide what people will say about you. You cannot decide whether everyone will understand you. You cannot control every opportunity, every setback, every delay, or every unexpected change. But you can decide how you meet these things. That ability is freedom. When you master yourself, you stop being pulled in every direction by temporary emotions. You become more deliberate. You begin choosing your response instead of automatically reacting. Someone criticizes you, and instead of immediately defending yourself, you pause. Someone provokes you, and instead of giving them your peace, you remain calm. Something does not go according to plan, and instead of collapsing emotionally, you adjust. You experience failure, and instead of defining yourself by it, you learn from it. This does not make life free from difficulty. It makes you stronger in the presence of difficulty. The world becomes less powerful over you when you become more powerful within yourself. This is why self-mastery is connected to inner peace. Peace does not come from controlling everything around you. If you need every person to behave correctly and every situation to go according to your expectations, your peace will always be fragile. But when you learn to accept what you cannot control and direct your energy toward what you can influence, your mind becomes lighter. You stop wasting energy fighting reality. You stop trying to win every argument. You stop explaining yourself to everyone. You stop chasing approval. You stop allowing every disappointment to determine your mood. You begin to understand that not everything deserves your attention. This is a powerful form of freedom. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you possess. Where you place it determines what grows inside you. If you constantly give your attention to fear, comparison, gossip, and distraction, your mind becomes filled with noise. But when you intentionally direct your attention toward growth, discipline, meaningful work, and inner development, you create space for clarity. Self-mastery gives you the ability to choose where your energy goes. It also changes your relationship with discomfort. You begin realizing that discomfort is not always something to escape. Sometimes it is the doorway to growth. The difficult conversation you avoid may teach you courage. The difficult habit you resist may build discipline. The difficult task you postpone may develop competence. When you stop running from every uncomfortable feeling, your world becomes larger. You become capable of doing things that once seemed impossible because you are no longer demanding comfort before taking action. This is freedom. Not freedom from effort, but freedom from being controlled by the desire to avoid effort. Not freedom from emotions, but freedom from allowing emotions to control every decision. Not freedom from responsibility, but freedom to choose your responsibilities consciously. The strongest person is not the person who controls everyone around them. It is the person who can remain centered when everything around them becomes uncertain. Self-mastery gives you that foundation, and it is built quietly, one decision at a time. Every time you choose patience over reaction, you become freer. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you become freer. Every time you choose purpose over comfort, you become freer. Every time you stop seeking approval and begin trusting your own values, you become freer. Eventually, you understand that the greatest victory is not controlling the world. It is no longer being controlled by it. When you can govern your mind, direct your attention, regulate your reactions, and remain committed to what truly matters, you carry your own source of strength with you wherever you go. That is the freedom of self-mastery.